What's up, YouTube? It's Sean with 614 Inc. Sneaker Reviews coming at you again today with another sneaker review. Just want to take a quick second before we get started to thank you for tuning into the channel today and remind you to please comment, like, and most importantly, subscribe. Your support is what makes these videos possible, and I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to tune into my channel. So let's jump into this. As you can see here today, we have a pair of Air Jordan 3 Cements. These are definitely my #1 favorite Jordan of all time. I always say in all my reviews, these are one of my favorites. This is it. For me, this shoe is like the pinnacle of J's. And so I'm excited to bring to you this review today, not only because this is my favorite pair of Jordans, but because this is going to be unlike any other sneaker review I've ever done. So as I said, I'm always open to suggestions, and some people in the comments have said, do like an on-foot segment. And so with that in mind, I thought to myself, I'm going to unbox these. I'm gonna wear these around 10 times. So I wore these shoes exactly 10 times. And it wasn't just like, here to the grocery store and back or whatever. I wore these like to the mall for a night out. I took them to Nashville, Tennessee and wore them to a wedding. I've worn these shoes multiple times for, hours on end on some of the instances. And so I've really put a lot of miles on these. And so I'm gonna be able to give you like a really in-depth review of exactly what I've seen, what I've experienced, and so I'm excited to do this a little bit differently today. So you saw the checklist in the intro. Anybody that subscribes to the channel or has seen my reviews before knows I like to follow my checklist and go right down the row. So let's do that. These shoes were sold from Rose_Fashion. As you guys know, everything I get my hands on is from DHgate. The cost of the shoe was $48.42. The shipping was $17.83. for a grand total of $66.75. The shipping time, they were purchased on November 29th of 2020, so last year at the time of this video, and they were delivered on January 7th of 2021. So it took 40 days for me to get these. Now again, these were purchased before Christmas, and so I think the holidays and COVID probably factored into that. Some of the other J's that I've reviewed have gotten to me a little bit quicker. I think normally right around 30 days is normal turnaround time. So these did take about a week and a half longer than what's typically experienced. Initial impressions. As I just said, this is probably my favorite J of all time. There's a lot of things that I'm excited to discuss with you here today. And so my initial impressions, we didn't get to do an unboxing video. These did come in the true Cement 3 box. Again, anybody that follows my channel knows I don't get hung up on that. They were immediately removed from the box. The box is thrown away. It came crushed, wrapped in an air bladder, just as every other replica sneaker that you've ever seen me do a review on. There was nothing different from the way that these were shipped or packaged. When I initially took them out of the box, I was immediately bummed. And I'll get to that why. I'll get to why here in a second. So the smell test on these, even though I've worn these 10 times, these still smell like an authentic sneaker. And I mean, like I say, I haven't worn them like, a couple minutes. These have, hours and hours and hours of wear and use in them. They still smell like a brand new sneaker should. I haven't had a pair of replicas that didn't smell authentic ever. I mean, in years since I've started doing these review videos, I've never had one that I purchased that didn't smell right. On foot feel is perfect. They fit. I have more 3s and 13s than any other retro, as far as my authentic collection goes, than any other retro style out there. So I'm overly familiar with the 3s. These feel on your foot just like a pair of 3s. Weight and everything, perfect. I was like blown away with the quality of this shoe. Now we get to the disappointing part. The differences from OG. And so when you look at these close, the Jumpman, it looks great. No complaints about the Jumpman here. Arms look good. You can see a crease in the toe just from me taking them on and off and wearing stuff like that. Fingers on the hands, legs are the same size, no 2x4 arm. Very impressed with the Jumpman. You can see the perforated leather, the graining in the black, the bottom, the centering's pretty good on the back on the Jumpman. Now that's the one thing I will say too. They've done so many different variations of Cement 3 retros. This shoe here is a retro of a pair of 2012 Cement 3s. They've more recently released Cement 3s but they had the Nike logo on the back, and the bottom was also different. So this pair of retros or replicas that I bought is a replica of the 2012 cement 3s. And so, you know, that's 9 years. I always talk about, you know, some of these retros when they have the nuances that are different, and you buy a pair of replicas and the little nuances don't match up. Sometimes like that shoe wasn't released into, you know, since 2002. And so it's really hard to believe that somebody would be wearing a pair of brand new 19-year-old shoes. These being 2012, that's 9 years, especially when you wear them a couple times. I think it's definitely plausible to wear these shoes out and have them in, you know, slightly used condition and have somebody think like that's just a pair of 3s that he doesn't wear all the time that he bought brand new in 2012. And there's no like icy colorway. So, you know, you get a pair of 9-year-old Carmines or something like that and you can see the yellowing start to form. You don't have that on the 3s. And so I definitely think having this shoe in like near dead stock condition from 2012 is something that somebody might consider plausible. The biggest difference from OG, like I say, you've got all the fine little attentions to detail, the star pattern on the toe box, you know, the markings are the same. The elephant print, if you guys can pick that up, it was the biggest disappointment when I took these out. This is completely smooth. There is no texture whatsoever. On the OG 3s, this elephant print should be embossed. You should be able to run your finger over this and feel all of that black elephant texture on that toe and heel box. And it is completely smooth and printed right on there. So I don't know if the camera picks it up to where you guys can see it, or maybe now that I've pointed it out, you can tell better. But to me, that was like the biggest bummer. And as soon as I opened the box, I noticed it right off the bat. And so this is where I always talk about in some of my other review videos, the quality rating. On a scale of 1 to 10, the quality of this shoe is a 10 out of 10. There were 0 defects on this shoe. The weight was right. The markings are right. Like everything was quality built. Like the graining on the leather was quality. I've worn these 10 times and look how well they've held up. I mean, I could wear these 100 times as long as you're not out jumping in mud puddles and taking them through, you know, muddy fields and stuff like that. These shoes are going to hold up. These are going to last a long time. These are some of the best, most well-built replicas that I've ever had my hands on or tried on or worn, but the markings are off. And so I always talk about a shoe on the quality rating, and this is why I do both, can get a 10 out of 10 and still fail. And unfortunately, the pass fail for whether or not I think we could wear these out and get away with something that could be considered a plausible retro, somebody may think is authentic, these fail. This elephant print is the most symbolic feature on this entire shoe. And so if you wear these around somebody that has any idea about what these shoes should have and what they're looking for, they're gonna notice right away this elephant print is not embossed and it's just literally, you know, printed right on there. It's such a letdown with the quality and the colors and just everything, the weight, the feel, it was just such a bummer. And so, you know, when in the pictures too, this is another thing, this gives me an opportunity to talk about what some of these replica sellers will do. You can email these sellers that sell these replica J's on DHgate and request a photo, and they will send you a photo. And oftentimes what they do is they have a pair of authentic whatever J you're inquiring about, and they'll send you a picture of that. And then when you receive the J, it's completely different than the photo, because the photo you got isn't of the shoe they're sending you, it's of the shoe that you're buying the replica of. And so when the photo of these shoes was requested, the elephant print was correct. And then once they arrived, this is what showed up. And so you're always taking a gamble when you buy a pair of replicas. But you know, some people just want something, like I say, that's a well-built J that resembles the authentic thing. And so when you're going for a 1-for-1, this isn't it. But if you're going for a very well-built Jordan that looks legitimate, these are a perfect 10 for 10 as far as quality. But like I say, they just don't have all of the true features of the 3. And again, all the reps that I try and review, I try and get them as close to that $60 price point as I can. And this is kind of some of the stuff you see, some of the fine-tuned attention to details and features that just aren't true to form. And the AAA replicas that are $160, $180, and even $200, that's where you get this like elephant print and stuff. But I've always thought it was stupid and a huge risk to spend that much money on a pair of replicas, because at the end of the day, your Jordan is still being purchased from a Chinese factory and being shipped halfway across the planet, and you have no I mean, these companies are fraudulent companies, and so God forbid something goes wrong, you have no recourse. You're not going to be able to recoup that $180, $200 or whatever it is you spent. You're just going to be out that money. And if you have that money to spend on a pair of shoes, just go buy the real thing. And if you can't get it, wait for the next one. So I just think spending any more than $60 on a pair of replicas is just taking a huge risk, and especially if they come and they're not as advertised. And so at this price point though, this is kind of some of the stuff that you get sometimes. So I hope this review maybe helped you guys out, or you found it informational, you enjoyed it. I'll show you a couple more close-ups of the shoe. As I say, the sole looks great, the air pockets there, all the texturing on the bottom. I did clean these up a little bit on the bottom, scrubbed them with a little scrub brush. They were a little bit dirtier. Centering's not too bad on the Jumpman. Jumpman Jordan logo on the back looks so good. There's no quality control issues as far as like real bad paint or loose stitching. The graining on the leather feels great. The stars look great on the pattern. You can see that I've got some wear, and that's not to say that like these wear easier than the OGs do. I've worn these a lot, so I would expect that as much walking as I've done in these, that a pair of OGs would have had that same wear issue on the toe star pattern as well. And so, you know, both shoes look extremely good. The Jumpman, that is the one thing I will say. You can see that he's gone on the inside of the shoe there on the sole, the Jumpman logo. On reps, that does wear off really quickly. And so a little quick tip you can do to preserve that is just take like a pair of scissors and some packing tape and cut yourself a square that's just a little bit bigger than the Jumpman if you want to preserve it, and you stick that clear packing tape over the Jumpman on the sole of your shoe, and it will keep it from wearing off. A pair of OGs, it's still going to wear off no matter what over time, but I do feel like the replica Jumpman emblem on the soles, or logo, whatever you want to call it, it does wear off very quickly. Like the first time I ever wore these, it was completely gone. And so, like I say, that packing tape trick really helps. And so anyway, I hope you guys have found this review useful. Please, again, like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. I want to continue to bring you guys as much videos like this as I possibly can, and your support's what makes it possible. So I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.